triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom. Hello, everyone. This is Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo50 Radio, and I'm glad that you're joining me today after a slugfest last night. Probably one of the best slugfests that we've seen in a long time. President of the United States of America, he did awesome as he combated against Joe Biden last night. Honestly, this is the best picture. I wanted to put some more things on there, but I think this is more than enough to get this going. But talking about getting things going, let's go to some American Pride Roasters coffee and start this day off right.
That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. But I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo50 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me, Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo50 Radio, and most important, Battle for Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation. American Pride Roasters.
Yes, American Pride Roasters. Now, many of you, if you had a chance and you were daring enough to sit and go do the debate yesterday, I believe that you would have been thoroughly enlightened and entertained in what took place last night. Many of you, I don't know if you were able to recover from the slugfest that was going on last night, and I'll talk about her in a second here, but kudos off to Kirsten Welker, or Kristen Welker, because of the fact that she did a great job. But you may need to recover from last night. You might have PTSD from this, and so you know what? Here you go.
Does your mind seem like it often shuts down before it even starts? Sounds like you need to detox to improve your health in body, mind, and spirit. I'd like to tell you about New Life Holistic. It is an amazing therapy process that uses neurofeedback and biofeedback for many issues that ails everyone. New Life's method and approach to health, balance, energy, and vitality is what sets it apart from anything you have experienced ever before. Call 1-833-4-BIO-LIFE and tell them Watson from Battle for Freedom had sent you. One more thing. Give them the code MOJO50 and save $50 off of your first session. The consult is free. New Life Holistic.
New Life Holistic. That's the way you go if you want to recover from probably the best debate yet that we've had, and probably the best debate in years. Listen, folks, there were many people to be congratulated on that debate last night. And if you want to interact with this program, like many people have chosen to do, Facebook.com/Mojo50, Mojo50. Go there and leave comments. I see Raquel, I see Linda, I see Lep, and I see Brian. Thank you, everybody, for joining and being part of this. Raquel will be part of the crew. You get a chance to hear her this Sunday. If you want to, go to mojo50.com/open mic, and you get a chance to hear her at 1 p.m. today. Lep will be on with Peachy at 12 a.m., and you have just great shows. Listen, here it is. Here's a lineup. Ain't You a Peach at 12 a.m. This is your last chance this month, okay? You have Room 13 at 1 p.m. You have tramping through history at 2, as well as you have Damn It with Beaver on at 3. So here's your chance to listen to some potentially new great stuff that will be, one of them's going to win. One of them will be on the network. There'll be a great prize being part of the Lord of the Flies called Mojo50 Radio. No, just kidding. Yeah, well, no, we are a little bit of the Lord of the Flies. We're just crazy. We all do our own thing, and it's just insane. And And because of the fact that I appreciate, you have to understand, I've been with Raquel for years now because we were on another network together too, and I love doing that. So this is for you, Raquel, early in the morning.
Watson!
So just giving that to you, just so you can enjoy and have fun with that one there. Listen, we last night I can't, folks. You have to understand that last night's success and victory, Jamie, thank you. It's Jamie who's part of it. I got that wrong. Sorry. Jamie Christopher with Lep on when you get a chance to listen to Ain't You a Peach. I keep thinking I want to call her Peachy. Last night, you have to understand the president's success kind of goes in with this young lady, Kristen Welker. I'm going to have to give her first place on the role as a moderator in years. Okay. One's really interesting because of the fact that I would say that she was very fair, very balanced. I'm going to give her an A rating, an A plus. I'm going to give her an A plus rating. I'm not going to give her an A plus plus rating because I'm struggling with one aspect that I'm trying to understand here, because I think that there were times that the president asked Joe Biden a question. It was a really good question. There were a lot of good questions that the president asked Joe Biden last night in the middle of the debate, and they were critical. And she didn't have him answer that question. Instead, there were times where Joe Biden made a statement, and so she said, okay, well, let's go with what you just said and continue in this progress. So I'm giving Kristen Welker, I'm giving her this award because of the fact that she kept the debate moving. I mean, she really moved that debate through, professional all the way through. I was nervous about the bias. I even tweeted her last night. Well done. Great job. You did the world proud. You did the world great in how she moderated that. She gave the president time. She gave Biden time. I'll go back. I'll listen to it. I've recorded it. I'll go back and I'll listen to it. But for me, on surface value, I believe that it was it was great. My wife and I, we giggled through it. We were shocked on it. And, I call this On the Ropes Joe because of the fact that I believe that there was a couple of things before the president came in. We knew long before the debates even began it was going to be a death. I mean, not even a death. It was just going to be a master defeat on what happens. Because of the fact that there's just no way that Joe Biden can stand toe-to-toe with President and hear this, with President Donald J. Trump. See, no matter all your crying, complaining, oh, he's not going to accept a safe transition of power, or calm, or whatever you call it. Most of you have not accepted the safe transition of power. Most of you are still riding the coattails that he never should have been president in the first place. So how dare many of you sit there and take up issues and concerns with Donald Trump leaving office when you guys couldn't even accept him coming into office? But understand, last night when I had a chance, I had the blessed opportunity to cover for Dominic Izzo last night. And I did a program called All the President's Men. And I want to, here's the graphic on here. I did a thing called All the President's Men last night. And you have to understand. So, again, everyone, if you get a chance, find Kristen Welker on Twitter and send her a compliment on the job well done she has done. And honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. There were a couple of times the president wanted to say some things, and I think she gave him the stink eye. Oh, man, I told you, she gave, because now he was like, I can't say anything. If you look at the president's expressions, it was really hilarious, because there were a couple times he was going to say something. He looked at her, and I think she gave him the stink eye. They didn't let us see it. Because the president, he held back. I'm going to go get into him because he definitely is the winner. But last night on Dominic Izzo for 2 hours from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can watch the video on Facebook or my YouTube channel, as well as listen to the audio when you go to Spreaker or you're not going to find it on iHeartRadio because it's under Dominic's show, and that's cool because of the fact you can listen to all his other crazy stuff that he has when he's on this network. But when you sit here and you watch this thing here, I was really surprised. She did a great job. She kept them in check, but I think it was the president's men who did this. Yesterday was a huge day for Donald Trump. It starts with Lindsey Graham, Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, and Mike Pence. Yesterday in the broadcast last night, I went as far as to commend Lindsey Graham on leading the Senate Judiciary, even though Democrats wanted to walk out and not walk out. They wanted to walk out. They didn't want to be there. They wanted to vote on moving the vote towards the floor for Judge Kavanaugh. Not Kavanaugh. Wow. I think that slugfest hit me worse than I ever could imagine. For Amy Coney Barrett, Honorable Judge Amy Coney Barrett. No, Kerry, it wasn't 2 against 1. Oh, it was 1-on-1. It was delicious. It was good. It was juicy. It was juicy. I tell you, it's when you think about what happened with the president. Let's start off with Lindsey Graham. So Amy Coney Barrett's now going to be moved to a vote on Monday. So the Democrats wanted to turn around, and they wanted to turn around, and they basically wanted to try and derail it. But you can't. 10 will never beat 12. It's a numbers game, and the Republicans have the numbers right now. But I love yesterday when you sit here and you look at if you go, and Fox was the only one covering. I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping that C-SPAN would have covered this because it would have been great video footage for yesterday. But Fox was the only one covering yesterday morning with the Senate. With the Senate meeting, the Senate Judiciary meeting. Democrats decided they didn't want to show up. But Lindsey Graham, Mike Lee, both laid out beautiful history to watch how this moment is possible because of what the Democrats did to set Republicans up to be even in a position to do this. Because of the fact that they sit here and talk about the whole idea of how you had the Democrats, and this was a name I completely forgot because of the fact that it was just really busy. It was really crazy as you look at all the different people who were involved in this, who are going through the process. Sometimes I don't always remember all the people who are attempting to run for office or be in a position to be a Supreme Court justice individual. And this is a name that I completely forgot. And I don't know how many of you remember him, but I'm just trying to give you the graphics so you can see him. Miguel Estrada. Miguel Estrada. He was someone that the Republicans, that believed that Bush was trying to put through. And you had the Democrats go out of their way to malign him, to just try and destroy his character as an individual. See, I thought watching what they did to Kavanaugh was horrible. I was like, why in the world would you do this? Why in the world would you go through this? And which means, and they go through the history of what they did to Bork. Then they tried to do to Clarence Thomas. And then they tried to do to Estrada. And then they tried, and understand this, the Democrats basically vetoed, did everything that they could obstruct him 7 times. 7 times. So Democrats set up the stage and the precedent for what's happening now. Not only was it Miguel Estrada, and this is because here's the thing about it, because there was an attack, and I believe that Hispanics will remember what they did. The fact, you want to understand the words in the background, the information in the background, if the news ever gets out of what Democrats had done to a Hispanic individual. Who was it? George Bush. He had, Anthony Gonzalez was the former attorney general, or maybe attorney general. And They went out of their way to malign and destroy Anthony Gonzalez. That they had to figure out one way to get rid of, because George Bush 43 couldn't have a Hispanic person sitting as an attorney general. You see this thing that's been taking place as the Democrats have been getting worse and worse. Bork, Thomas, Estrada, Gorsuch. You watch this behavior, and most definitely 2 years ago, what they did with Kavanaugh. I mean, if any, the thing that really disturbed me was the number of silent Christians as they sat there watching another Christian being maligned and accused of sexual assault. And many of them were content in believing that this gentleman, that Kavanaugh, Justice Brett Kavanaugh, was guilty of rape without any information. They were hell bent on believing it, even when you had people who were in the party saying it never happened like that. They still believed he was a rapist. And many people have the nerve to be angry because Joe Biden, I want to tell you, there's a couple of successes for Joe Biden yesterday in his ploy to win the black community. Because when Joe Biden brought up the Central Park Five, it's very interesting that he would bring up the Central Park Five, because understand this, that was a calculated task. That was a calculated risk for him to sit there and call out and basically say, yeah, this is a racism from Donald Trump. This is what he heard from Black America. This is how Joe Biden was primed and prepped, and he looked for that opportunity to drop in the Central Park Five, because a lot of ignorant people in America believe that Donald Trump, believing that those 5 individuals should be guilty because of what they were, not because of the color of their skin. Because what people don't want to tell you is, even though the Central Park Five were found innocent in the raping case, they were still amongst a bunch of people out there looting, destroying, and creating a lot of problems. So what you saw this past summer, what you saw the past 6 months of robbing, looting, stealing, and destruction that was going on around our country because of the George Floyd situation, Central Park Five was part of those groups of people who were out there causing trouble. And who knows what history might exist between Donald Trump and the Central Park Five, that there were maybe other things that they were doing that they were guilty of. But we don't want to talk about that. Just like we didn't want to talk about it back then, and we don't want to talk about it right now. But Joe Biden going out of his way to mention the Central Park Five, that was a calculated risk, because that was his goal, to try and win black people. He had an interview, there was a conversation with Charlemagne and Don Lemon this week, where Charlemagne basically said to Don Lemon, I mean, this is interesting. You have to understand something. Charlemagne, he turns around and basically questions, remember, 2 days before you had George Floyd, Joe Biden was interviewed, and he made that fateful statement, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. 3 days later, George Floyd is on the news. Same Charlemagne is out there right now speaking with Don Lemon, saying, you know what? Donald Trump is successfully reaching the black community. Donald Trump is success. I'm surprised to hear it, but I appreciate, I may not always agree with everything that Charlemagne says, but I'm actually excited that he would be willing to get real with Joe Biden and tell him exactly what's happening here. Donald Trump is reaching the black community. He's reaching young black men. There are people who appreciate the straightforwardness. They don't want to hear the lies and rhetoric of the media anymore. They're watching Donald Trump going gangster on politicians on the left and on the right. There are people who can't control him, and it has been mortal combat. Trust me, Jeff, the Second Amendment will get coverage. Trust me, the Second Amendment. I believe if you, Jeff, one of the comments here was the idea that the Second Amendment didn't get coverage on that. I understand this. It did get coverage yesterday by Ted Cruz yesterday morning in the Senate Judiciary. Share that out if you can with as many people as you can as you sit here talking about what Senator Ted Cruz said yesterday when he was talking about the whole idea of, remember this, on the Heller case, They said we had 4 votes. There were 4 justices that actually decided and said that it was okay that you can make it now illegal for an American citizen to actually have a firearm. One vote away from us being in a position. And again, with the instability of a John Roberts, we could have been 2 votes away from having our rights removed from us. So this is critical. This is critical that we sit here and we watch on something critical like our Second Amendment rights. Yeah, so if you haven't had a chance, go to YouTube, look up Fox News, and look at their coverage of the Senate Judiciary yesterday morning and how Ted Cruz beautifully lays out the threat of our fundamental rights in the Second Amendment, and go from there. There was a lot of different things that they could have covered in the debate last night, and it's good. I believe the content that they covered, there could have been so much more, but bravo again to Kristen Welker in the role and the job that she has done in that. As you sit here and you watch what was going on. So I believe that the words of Mike Lee, as you sit there and you look at Lindsey Graham, you look at Mike Lee, and they give you the history. They tell you about how the Democrats in 2013, because of the fact that they weren't getting their way, they didn't have the 60 votes that they wanted. So the Democrats, so Chuck Schumer said, I'm going to change it from 60 votes required to make to appoint judges to down to 51, just having the majority. Chuck Schumer created that situation, and Chuck Schumer said, I would do it again. And trust me, given the opportunity, he would do it again. And I believe, was it Harry Reid or one of the other individuals? They basically said, we even want to do the thing with also on the judiciary. I believe it's on another area or another legislature, I believe. They want to get rid of this. So if I'm correct, I think what they're saying is that they want to get rid of the 2/3 requirement. Is that what they're saying? That you just need to have the majority to make bills successful. They want to get rid of the 2/3 majority in Congress? That's not good. Because right now, if that's the case, then that means that Democrats can pass whatever that they want and not require having 2/3 of Congress to basically say that this is legitimate. To get rid of that and just only have a majority. Remember, the Republicans have the position they have right now because Democrats created it. And see, so a lot of American citizens are going to have to look at that. A lot of you people who are angry at Trump, a lot of you who are angry at Republicans, your anger is in the wrong place. It needs to be with Harry Reid and Chuck Schumer, who created the mess that you find yourselves in right now. So that was the beautiful argument laid out by, beautiful argument laid out by the Senate in the morning. Major win. The letter, because Mike Pence, his "Come on, Joe" statement, I'm not going to lie to you, it set the president up. I believe that Joe Biden was flustered even before the rounds began. I believe that Joe Biden was flustered before the battle even began, and there was nothing he could do to change the nature and direction of where things were going to go. So here we go. Here we go. We're going to go to a break here in about a minute. But I will say, I was talking about this last night on Dominic Izzo's program. If you haven't had a chance to watch Mike Pence's speech yesterday, he made a couple of gaffes. Because he was in Waterford, but he said Pontiac, but he cleaned it up really well. And Mike Pence yesterday, he came off as a man's man. And I think a lot of people are starting to look at Mike Pence, and they're starting to see a little bit more energy in him. And I don't know if he's going to try and run for president in 2024, but if he maintains the humility and the meekness that he has, and the respect that he has, I believe there could be a chance that we're looking at we're looking at a Pence ticket in 2024. And what will be great is we'll start taking tallies as to who do you think that VP pick will be. Listen, I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle4Freedom. Let's go to a break, and I'll talk to you beautiful people on the flip side.
This election will be vital to the health and sustainability of our country. Our role from this day on could steer the election in either direction. Why? The way we treat one another. In John 13:35, Jesus says, "By this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." We know that every election cycle brings out the worst in us. If there was ever a point for honesty, it is in how we act during election season. As much as we would want our candidate to win, attacking a person with contrary opinions only makes them determined to reject our point of view all the more. It may come off as ignorant from them, but we cannot claim innocence if we allow arrogance and disrespect to be the means in which we communicate with those who support the other party or other candidates. Our goal was and will never be to convert voters. Our role is to give them the information needed prior to them casting their vote. It is their choice and right of what they do with that information. Understand, more people are aware of the political corruption and hypocrisy than they wish or want to admit. So there's nothing for us to prove. Choose to be people who invoke change rather than people who irritate and strain. Dale Carnegie once wrote, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." In other words, give people the room to make their own mistakes. Without seeing that they were wrong, they would be blind to see what is right. Remember, every soldier present and gone have fought for the right of every American citizen to vote their own conscience. To insult and ridicule people for exercising their liberty to vote for their candidate is to also desecrate the efforts, memories, and sacrifices made by our heroes for said liberty. Please, show respect. Our nation depends on it.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio, and I'm glad that you're joining me today. A couple funny comments in the timeline as we're going on break. One of them says from Lep, he says, "Well, we have our very own Indiana Watson." Yes, I love the hat, and it's really great. We're hearing that Mojo River Fish 2024, but someone actually, there was an interesting one. Someone said Crenshaw 2024. You know what's really interesting in this whole aspect is not yet, not Crenshaw, because Crenshaw's actually starting to say, folks, if you're not listening to Crenshaw, appreciate Crenshaw for what he's done, him serving the country, but there's questionable things happening and questionable language coming out of the mouth of Dan Crenshaw. So please listen to him, and let's not get into the personalities. Let's get into what they said, what they're doing, and when the rubber meets the road, just listen to Crenshaw. I think he said a couple things in the past couple of weeks that would probably concern you in his role and what place he will be facing when it comes to government. So let's hold off on that celebration right for now, please. A couple of things though just came across that I have to get here. Christopher Warren said. He said because Democrats want to rule, not lead, and that's a big thing. See, thank you, brother. Thank you, Christopher. I really needed that one. You have to understand something here as we're watching this, as we're listening, as we're paying attention, as we sit in the audience on the stage of politics and so much more, as the theater that takes place before us by the president, by some politicians, and so much more, where we're watching something that's taking place that people don't seem to understand. One of the words that the president really got me on. I remember, folks, I was a never Trumper. I was a never Trumper all the way till 3 a.m. the next day after election. I couldn't believe he actually did it. I was surprised he actually did it. Not like I'm thinking that the third party candidate I was voting for had a chance. I was pretty much basically preparing my tears for there being President Hillary Clinton, which, praise God, did not happen. And, I made that decision 3 a.m. the next day. I'm not getting behind him. I can't. At this particular point, fighting him. And actually, I began praying that, okay, one, that the delegate system on this December 19th would not in any way mess up the process of him being president, trying to delegitimize his presidency, and then also wanted to make it him to January, into Inauguration Day, where he could be sworn in and not killed before that moment. And I see your Izzo Prunier comment, Linda, and I was going to share your comment, which basically said, last night's debate, if anything, showed that Biden is not able to hold office. That's true. It showed that. Last night's debate showed we elected the right president. The right president had the right to nominate Amy Coney Barrett, Honorable Judge Amy Coney Barrett, to become the next Supreme Court justice. He doesn't. And the thing that many of you honor her wish, and all these other different things. Be quiet. Be quiet. Because the idea. And I need to figure out, for some of you guys, do me a favor, find for me, what year was it that former President Barack Obama made the comment, election has consequences? That will really set up the rest of this program big. And for those of you who do it, I'll see what kind of prize I can get to the first person who could put it in the timeline when he said that. Please, I'll figure out what prize I can send to you that I can afford. I think I have a little USB charger. I don't know. We'll figure this thing out. But please, find for me the exact date and time that former President Barack Obama made the comment, elections has consequences, because that is the language of someone who likes to rule, not the language of someone who likes to lead. So Joe Biden being on the ropes, and then if you get into there's so much. If you get into Mike Pence's speech, listen to it, watch it, enjoy it. He laid it out. He turned around and he basically, the events during the day had Joe on the ropes before he even came into the debate. Because make no mistake, Donald J. Trump, President Donald J. Trump, if anything, crass and all, he got stuff done. He accomplished what he said. Well, you didn't do the healthcare thing. That was in the interview yesterday. You remember the 60-minute interview that CNN and everybody else says that Donald Trump storms out of the thing? He didn't storm out of the meeting. He was like, I've given you 35 minutes. That's more than enough data, especially given the fact that you're arguing with me. Why in the world would I sit here continue? I'm giving you facts of the guilt of Joe Biden and this laptop. I'm giving you the facts of the Barack Obama administration spying on a presidential candidate. I'm giving you the information of what's going on here. I'm giving you the information of the most successful economy. And you're arguing with me, Leslie, when I tell you that the Dow, highest, most successful. And then Joe Biden last night tries to go against the president on saying, well, that's all he's got to work is with the Dow. But there are a lot of people who don't. You know what? Because a lot of those people who don't have money in the stock market is because of the fact that they live in Democrat cities and they were never taught how to manage their money. They were never taught, you know what? Don't invest in BET and PSP and your, whatever video game that you want to play with and Xbox and everything like that. Take some of that money instead of paying for your subscriptions for, Stream, so that you could play your life into oblivion. Why don't you take some of that money and invest it into some stocks? Why don't you invest it into something like that? Save up $500, because that's all you need is a minimum in E-Trade and so many of these other different places. If you want to go and invest, if you want to be part of the stock market, if you want to start investing and making money, this is how you do it. You pay your debts off. But you know what? Most people will turn around and they don't want to hear the likes of a Dave Ramsey, because they don't want to listen to a white man who tells them to live under what you make. Live within your means. They don't want to hear that. They don't want and they live in your communities. They live under the oppressive rule of your constituents in the Democrat Party. And they don't have the information, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the wherewithal to invest in the stock markets, because if they did, they'd be making serious money right now, long before COVID. And guess what? For those of them who would have had the chance to make that investment, Joe, you do realize as if they invest their money somewhere, they still be making money. And even if they decided to do what seems to be a reckless thing, as a boring thing of actually putting your money in a savings account that actually draws interest, even if they only make a penny on it, guess what? It's a penny more than they had if they did nothing at all. But you don't want to talk about that. You keep going about all the billionaires and the trillionaires and everything like and all this money. Do you recognize? And I love this meme. Everybody keeps complaining about how they keep complaining about how the Democrats, the Republicans, or the rich people are making all this money, and all these people got the tax breaks. You show me one. You show me one poor person. You show me one middle class person who's actually taken their money, taken the money that they saved up, and actually created a business that has actually employed hundreds and thousands of individuals, that's provided health care, has provided money to go into a 401k plan, that provides holiday pay, that provides sick pay and everything like that. Show me how many middle class businesses have done this. No, because they can't afford to do that. They don't have the capital to do that unless they saved up millions of dollars to bring in a business to employ hundreds of individuals. It's the people who actually have the money, who are the millionaires, who are the billionaires, who are the trillionaires, who actually create the industries and create a lot of what we see right now driving our economy. But this whole idea of trying to paint it out and make it seem like the president doesn't care. Oh, the president cares. And remember, too, I am not in the 1%. I am not in the 1%. And my family has benefited from the tax breaks from this president and from the Republican-led Senate to make this happen, and House. So what we have right now, I'm benefiting from it, and many more people were benefiting from it, but they didn't want to be truthful on that. Many of them can actually buy new cars, buy luxury SUVs. That's not because of the fact that Obama made something happen. So sad and so pathetic. The lies. But and again, the disinformation. Where you sit here and you don't want to hold the people. You have money to invest in entertainment. You have money to invest in. You're going to spend $200-300 for an ESPN package. Guess what? That $200-300 that you are spending between your internet, between your entertainment, between all these other different things, and whether it's your cars or whatever it is that you want to spend your money in, or even if it's your guns. So conservatives, if you sit here getting bad that you don't have money to invest in the stock market, but you can buy tons of AR-15s, you can buy shotguns, you can buy guns, you can buy ammo, and so much, but you don't have any money to invest in the stock market, that's on you. That's on you because you made the decision of where you wanted to invest your money. But no one wants to have that conversation. No one wants to talk about personal accountability. Everybody wants to keep talking about the spending that's happening in the government. And it is bad. Trust me, it is bad. $6 trillion, $5 to $6 trillion in less than 4 years. Oh, that's horrific. Now, mind you, I think at least 3 of it was just this year alone. But this idea of the rich doesn't pay taxes, and no, the rich are actually paying for more than you'd ever pay in your life. Enjoy those benefits that you have in your job. Oh, I'm paying a little bit extra for my health care, but understand this, the bills that I have this year are nowhere near what I had to pay last year. Because I'm paying extra upfront now so I don't have to do it late, so I don't have to do it later. God's provided. I'm in a blessed company that affords me the opportunity to do what I'm doing right now. You want healthcare, get a job, and vote for people. Vote for people who are going to basically say, no, we're not putting rules and regulations that are crippling businesses and keeping them from. And actually, because Joe Biden wants to raise the taxes it was at 35%, it got dropped down to 22%, and Joe Biden wants to put it back up to 28%, almost near 30%. It's going to be higher than that. You know it's going to be higher than that because they understand that that's where their money is. See, and again, last Friday's broadcast, you need to listen to this, a severability clause, because of the fact that, again, there are a lot of things that are on the books right now or there are a lot of laws, rules, or things that we've just been accustomed to in our system that need to be taken away to allow American citizens to be more free to do what they. I believe the economy, think about this. Look how the economy was stimulated just with one simple tax plan that was rolled out by the Republicans in 2017, 2018. Okay? This is now that's actually relieving tax on them. What happens when you start taking away some of the taxes away from them? What kind of stimulation do you have? This idea of a death tax? This idea of an inheritance tax? There were taxes paid on those resources already. And we're now going to turn around and penalize America. Do you realize the thuggery, thievery, and the impression of helping American citizens has been established by the idea of taxing American people? But when you start reducing the size of the government, when you start taking away their funds, they get nasty, they get angry, and they get militant because they know that they're living high on the hog on our taxes. And every time they sit here talking about, well, we're going to commit this amount of money and we're going to commit that. Where the hell are you getting all this money from? Joe Biden. Oh, I'm going to do all this stuff and we're going to spend all this money. We're going to put forward $750 billion. Where are you getting the money from? Donald Trump. You keep committing this money. Where are you getting the money from? It's from us. For all the different taxes that we have not axed and removed. And created a constitutional amendment, that basically says, listen, we're not taxing people like this anymore. No taxation without representation. This is exactly what's happening in this country right now. There is a lot of taxation, and there is no transparency as to where this tax money is going. There's no representation to where the monies that are going that we're getting taxed out to wazoo. Oh, let's repair the roads. Let's do infrastructure. Infrastructure is your coin word that you use to basically insinuate that you're actually getting things accomplished. But if that's the case, then why is it that our roads are in the worst conditions possible? Our roads aren't better. Our roads aren't better. Our roads are tearing apart within a year of being. I've seen roads here in Indiana falling apart within 3 months of them being created. So don't tell me about the infrastructure. Infrastructure is your big coin phrase that basically says I don't have to be accountable for what I'm doing. I kind of got off on a tangent there. Sorry. And Christopher Wormer, he wins. He wins. He wins right here where he says October 25th, House Republican Whip Eric Cantor gave President Obama a list of modest proposals for the bill. Obama said he would consider GOP ideas, but told the assembled Republicans that elections have consequences, and I won. October 25th, literally almost 10 years today. Almost 10 years today that former President Barack Obama said elections have consequences. Yes, they do. And the consequence of elections is Donald J. Trump with the hottest market, lowest unemployment, pre-COVID-19, and it will go back to those numbers. Donald J. Trump with 3 appointed Supreme Court justices and confirmed, and Donald J. Trump pulling us out of the Paris Accord and pulling us out so much more. Our emissions are lower now than the standards that were required via the Paris Accord, but y'all don't want to talk about that. Do you get this? Do you realize that we are actually having lower emissions, and we did it without being burdened by the horrific plan that Obama put us in called the Paris Climate Accords? But you don't want to talk about that. So let's, I don't want to lose time on this. I've got 7 minutes here. Well, not even 7 minutes. I've got 10 minutes here. Donald Trump last night, Joe, who built the cages, was probably one of the most best moments last night. Who built the cages? You know what? Understand this, because the first debate was a nightmare, okay? First debate was a nightmare. But again, set up from Mike Pence with his debate with Kamala Harris. You notice, I want to go on record, she didn't answer the question. They are on the ropes. You can't argue with the results of what Donald Trump has accomplished, okay? Crass and all. You can't. If you're not succeeding in this administration, it's because you don't want to succeed. Honestly. If you're not, for what my family had been able to accomplish since he has been president, and more since he's been president, by the grace of God, it's because we want to succeed. It's because we want to move forward. It's because we want to plow forward. Have we been perfect in everything we're saying that we're doing? No. I think we could be further ahead if we made more sacrifices. But we're not perfect in this thing. Getting out of debt isn't a completely magical process that you can accomplish, but if you stick to it, trust me, it's rewarding in and of itself. Getting out of debt, it's almost like getting a pay raise, because you're not paying hundreds and thousands of dollars in debt on a monthly basis, and you can actually start taking that money and investing it. We don't want to talk about that, because do you realize something here? By getting more people out of debt, and it's because you know who loses when people aren't in debt? The banks. The banks lose because of the fact that people aren't paying interest, and this is how the banks make their money. And if people are getting away from the idea of sitting there paying interest for things rather than just paying for them right outright, you know what happens? The banks lose their money if people want to move to being debt-free. That means that they have more bargaining power. They have more power. Do you not? Listen, I don't care who it is. It's black, white, male, female. You start encouraging people, look into Total Money Makeover, look into Financial Peace University, look into the idea and what the power is in not having debts, because the Word of God says the borrower is a slave to the lender. And there are a lot of unfortunate people, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your gender, that are in bondage because of debt. And the more people that you have that are free from the bondage of debt, the more people you have who can vote with their money. They can turn around, they can invest in communities, they can invest in back into their communities if they're not living from paycheck to paycheck. But most often when you're living from paycheck to paycheck, it's because you have a pattern of living over your means rather than under your means. Joe Biden was on the ropes yesterday. He had nothing to say, nothing to do. There was no way that he could respond. There was a couple of comments that he had made last night because he tried to. Here was one. He made the comment about, oh, some teachers are going to die. So basically, constantly twisting the words of the president. Understand this. It is horrific that we lost any lives because of COVID-19. Okay? But putting the blame on the president. And Joe Biden's like, well, it's not a red state or a blue state. I'm for Americans. Really, mister, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. You ain't getting around that, Negro. You are not getting away from the idea, because if it's not, no, I'm not a Republican. I'm not, it's red state, blue state. If you not vote for me, you ain't black. That's not unifying. That's not unifying. And the whole idea of, let's go back to Central Park 5. How can you sit there and talk about the Central Park 5 and Donald J. Trump when you don't want to sit here and talk about the reality of your comment you said to Charlemagne, the comment that you've made when you were saying the N-word from the Senate floor. Let's get about the idea that you don't want your kids in a racial jungle. Let's get about the idea that you had a black maid that was taking care of things. Let's get behind the idea of Donald Trump, of Barack Obama being an eloquent speaker. Let's get around the idea idea of these predators, maybe not super predators. Correction, Mr. President, it was Hillary Clinton who said super predators, but you did call them predators, Joe Biden. And you can't get around it. You created the crime bill that basically incarcerated more black people than you can ever imagine. But this idea of it's sad that near 250,000 people will be losing their lives, if not more, because of COVID-19. The numbers that they give us. Remember, we were projected at 2.5 million people. We were 10% of that number. It would be nice to have been 1% of that number, if not 0% of that number. But one of the things that they recognize is there's going to be collateral damage. There will be loss of life. It's not in any way to sit here and make light in any way of the lives that were lost, but it was the reality that people are going to die and there's nothing we can do about it. See, Joe Biden has this fanciful idea that I'm going to completely eliminate everything. I'm going to completely eliminate everything with COVID and everybody's going to be saved. Here's my question, and I've seen it a lot, and that many people have done this, and they've posted this. Joe Biden says he has the answer of fixing the economy and fixing so many more things that are plaguing this country. Why didn't you share it with Barack Obama? Why, in 8 years, thank you, Mr. President, you were in for 47 years, 44 years, or 47 years. You had a chance to make changes, and you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything for black people in 8 years that you were in office. Oh, you fixed the sentencing option for people who were, if you had crack cocaine or you had heroin. That's all you did. You fixed the sentencing. You didn't free the people. Oh, well, we commuted the sentences of thousands of people and blah, blah, blah. But you didn't have the First Step Act. You didn't have the Second Step Act. You didn't have Ice Cube. You didn't have Ice Cube, 50 Cent, and so many more willing to throw their neck out on the line and say, Donald Trump is actually doing something for the black community. More and more people who are Democrats who are basically saying, Donald Trump is actually doing something for the black community. So Joe Biden, you lost that one. You were on the ropes the whole time. Bravo to President of the United States, because there was times he wanted to go full Democrat, and he held back. The amount of restraint, I would say, everyone, you know how bad Trump can get. You know how bad Trump can get, and he held his own last night. He did well. He restrained himself at a level I was marveled at. Compared to the first debate, if you can't give him credit on that, you just straight up a hater. You just straight up a hater. And understand this too, because of the fact, you know how you like to say the word of God says, judge not lest ye be judged. So I'm saying to you, in regards to your hatred toward Donald Trump, judge not lest ye be judged. See, because it can't be convenient for you to rally out that thing against other people, but not apply the very same passage that you give to you, that's your war cry, your rally cry against what's going on here. The president was strong going into that because of the fact that the vice president was disheveled. He was disheveled. There was nothing he could do. And, the idea that the president talked about, we all can't live in our basement, was even the best. That was another one that I thought was just a key thing. We can't live in our basement, masked up and out of touch with individuals. This is where Biden has been. He's been in the basement. Even during when he wasn't in the Ukraine, when he wasn't in China, when he wasn't in Russia, and he wasn't using his son as his ambassador of corruption, Biden has been in the basement. During this whole pandemic, Biden has been in the basement. At times, I think that the president's reckless in what he does. If he wants to throw off his mask, if he throws his mask off to people in the crowd, I'm like, this man is insane. But you know what this president's doing? He's out on the front lines. Okay? He's not hiding. He's not hiding like Biden. He's out on the front lines. You can't argue with those results. And you can't argue with that conviction. He's leading, not ruling. The president is leading by example. Not always the best example. When it comes to what he's doing as president of the United States of America, I applaud him on a job well done. On a job well done. Listen, folks, I'm going to close this out. There's a lot of comments I did not get. I apologize. I just got on a rant and a roll. Listen, Brad Staggs and Daily Mojo is up next with Randolph the Gray. One more time for my friend Raquel. Rocky, here you go.
Watson!
He's up next. Take a listen to them. Appreciate them, folks. Enjoy your weekend. I'm out.